The Japanese, with their own hands, destroyed tens of thousands of temples and countless Buddha statues. Hidden behind this was a shocking government agenda. During the Meiji era, the Haibutsu Kishaku movement saw nearly half of the approximately 40,000 temples nationwide abolished, and many Buddhist cultural assets lost. However, there was an even more astonishing truth hidden beneath the surface. What was it that drove the populace to frenzied acts of destruction beyond the government's initial intentions? Watching this video will reveal why such large-scale temple destruction occurred in Japan, the true goals of the Meiji government, and the deep-seated psychology that led people to destroy Buddhist statues. Now, let's delve into the truth behind the Japanese destruction of temples. In the main feature, we will also explain in detail the lingering effects of Haibutsu Kishaku on modern Japan. The story begins in 1868 with the birth of the new Meiji government. Japan was poised for immense transformation, entering a new era. A symbol of this transformation was the Shinbutsu Bunri Edict, issued on March 13th of the same year. This decree triggered a nationwide upheaval. The Shinbutsu Bunri Edict clearly distinguished Japan's indigenous Shintoism from foreign Buddhism, prohibiting the syncretic beliefs of gods and Buddhas that had prevailed until then. Specifically, it ordered the removal of Buddhist statues and implements from shrines and the separation of temples and shrines. Monks were also forbidden from serving as Shinto priests. However, this separation decree became the catalyst for an unforeseen rampage of Buddhist persecution, known as Haibutsu Kishaku, across the nation. Why did separation lead to destruction? The Meiji government's intention was to establish a Shinto state centered on the emperor. Buddhism was seen as strongly associated with the era of samurai rule. Furthermore, influenced by Kokugaku, national studies, and Confucianism, Buddhism was criticized as an external ideology that defiled Japan's pure, ancient beliefs. The new government was also plagued by financial difficulties. The vast lands and assets of temples were attractive targets for confiscation. However, the government merely ordered the separation of gods and Buddhas. It did not command the destruction of temples or Buddha statues. So, why did extreme acts like Buddha statue destruction and temple arson escalate nationwide, exceeding the government's intentions? In the provinces, the Shinbutsu Bunri Edict was misinterpreted as a Haibutsu edict for abolishing Buddhism, and radical anti-Buddhist movements spread like wildfire. Behind this was the populace's long-standing dissatisfaction with temples. Financial burdens from the Danka system, parishioner system, and resentment towards corrupt temples fueled the anger. Additionally, Shugendo, which played a crucial role in the syncretic belief system of Shinto and Buddhism, was also suppressed, leading to the destruction of many sacred sites. Impoverished farmers and lower-ranking samurai, struggling with their livelihoods, used the government's directive as an excuse to unleash their pent-up frustrations, participating in destructive acts. Destroyed Buddha statues were reportedly sold for cash, burned as firewood, and even used as stone materials for bridges. Their treatment was incredibly crude. This extreme movement was incited by some Kokugaku scholars. They went so far as to denounce Buddhism as an enemy of Japan and advocated for its expulsion. Particularly in regions where Shugendo beliefs were strong, Shinto priests and Shugenja, ascetic practitioners, led the anti-Buddhist movement, powerfully promoting the destruction of temples. On Sado Island, the entire island population converted to Shinto, resulting in devastating damage where tens of thousands of Buddha statues and scriptures were destroyed. Alarmed by the radical destruction that exceeded its initial intentions, the government issued the Regulations for the Preservation of Ancient Articles and Old Objects in 1871, ordering pacification. However, the fervor of the masses, once ignited, was not easily quelled, and the madness of Haibutsu Kishaku continued for several more years. What lay beneath this frenzy? As a result of Haibutsu Kishaku, tens of thousands of temples across the country were abolished, and many monks were forcibly defrocked. Even more serious was the loss of countless precious cultural assets. Buddha statues, scriptures, paintings, and architectural structures. At Kofukuji Temple in Nara, the 5-storied pagoda was almost sold for a mere 25 yen as timber, but residents protected it, narrowly saving it from destruction. Similarly, the massive bronze bell of Todaiji Temple was nearly melted down but was also preserved thanks to the efforts of wise individuals. Josiah Conder, the British architect who designed the Rokamaikan, was reportedly shocked by the sight of Japanese Buddha statues being destroyed upon his arrival in Japan. Meanwhile, Buddhist art objects that escaped destruction began to flow cheaply overseas. Many of Japan's treasures were taken out of the country during this period. However, American art historian Ernest Fenollosa and his disciple Okakura Tenshin dedicated themselves to cultural property protection, contributing to preventing the outflow and destruction of valuable Buddhist art. Without them, it's highly possible that even more national treasures would have been lost, and Japan's cultural history would have been vastly different. Ironically, this large-scale destruction of cultural assets also became a significant catalyst for the awakening of cultural property preservation awareness in Japan. However, the deep scars and cultural losses inflicted upon Japanese society in just a few years were immeasurable. So, what did it ultimately bring about? Haibutsu Kishaku dealt a devastating blow to the Japanese Buddhist world, putting many sects on the brink of extinction. Its effects continue to this day. The loss of temples, which were central to local communities, created a significant void in people's spiritual anchors, and shrines were redefined as the center of local faith, creating a major current that led to state Shintoism. However, the Shinto, after the Shinbutsu Bunri, was also reconstructed as a purely ancient Japanese faith, entirely different from the previous Shinbutsu Shugo. And this state Shinto would later become one of the spiritual pillars in World War II, profoundly influencing the people. Haibutsu Kishaku is also an example of how traditional culture faced crisis and transformed under the guise of Japan's civilization and Enlightenment modernization. The fact that Buddhism, which had been deeply rooted in Japanese culture, art, and thought for over 1,000 years, was suppressed to such an extent is a grave matter. This event demonstrates the peril of political intervention in religion and the immeasurable impact its consequences can have on society. At the same time, it also teaches us the danger that once frenzied, a populace can run rampant and even destroy culture. So, for us living today, what lessons does the Meiji Haibutsu Kishaku offer? Why did temple destruction occur? It was due to the Meiji new government's policy of establishing Shinto as the state religion, coupled with the public's pent-up frustrations and radicalization. The government's true objectives were not merely religious reform, but also financial security, centralization, and the establishment of a national system centered on the emperor. And why did the populace destroy Buddha statues? Years of discontent with temples, incitement by Kokugaku scholars, and the suppression of Shugendo accelerated that madness. Haibutsu Kishaku, where the Japanese destroyed their own culture, was not just religious persecution, but a complex distortion of society during the Great Transition of the Meiji Restoration. Hidden within that madness might be a glimpse into human nature that resonates even today.
History still hides untold stories. Subscribe for more forgotten history.